Well, hello, Paradigm Shifter, Judy Matejczyk here, Life Mastery Consultant and World Class Paradigm Shifter with, yes, yet another Transformation Tuesday. This is the end of our 15th month that we've been going every Tuesday, where we bring a different topic, different speaker to shift and uplift the planet. So I thought I would start out today with exactly what does that word transformation mean? Hmm. Think about that a minute. What does transformation mean? And do you really want to transform? Hmm.
Ooh.
Hmm. Well, transformation, the word trans means to go beyond, form, your current results, and Asian is having the experience. So transformation is having the experience of going beyond your current results. And we've got some awesome speakers today. There's two of them today, or it's a double header. And I'm going to introduce, here's what I thought I'd do, Ann and Jan. I'm going to give you a little bit of a bio and stuff and of each one of you. And then I'm going to have Anne kick us off, and then Jan, and then talking about her experience with writing and how it's transformed her, and then Jan, and then your experience. But first, let me introduce Dr. Ann Manchinelli. A little over a year ago, was where you claimed that title of doctor, right, Ann? Yeah,
I almost a year.
almost. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that very
in a
well.
couple of weeks.
Yeah, and you're currently a librarian at Tennessee Tech,
Mhm.
Logical University, and a Navy mom. Let's see, literary science, study literary at Tennessee Tech University, and I really find this interesting. You studied wildlife and
Yeah,
fishery sciences
yeah.
and nutrition and diet, and you dietetics and nutrition at Berea College. I know you're from Cookeville, Tennessee,
Yeah.
and a mom and a grandma,
Hmm.
and we're going to hear more about all that with your story too. So, welcome to Transformation Tuesday, Ann. Glad to have you here.
Well,
There you
thank
go.
you.
All
Thank you.
right, we have two educators with us here. One is you're still in the classroom, still
Hmm.
teaching, and then we have Jan Mayer, and I love Jan. My kids call Jan Mayer Grand Jan, and Grand Jan is a survivor, and she survived all of life's circumstances so far. And Jan's a singer songwriter who, in her early adulthood, lost her singing voice and had to relearn how to speak. So, later, as an elementary music teacher, your days were spent co creating musicals with young students who taught her how to safely blend courage with laughter. How's that for you? So now, writing poetry allows Jan to hear what she is thinking as her thoughts hold hands and dance on paper. I love that. So every day on Facebook, Jan publishes a morning poem, a haiku, American haiku, which is exactly 17 syllables. And through these writings, she and her readers share their mysterious journeys and discoveries. And then we'll talk more about what you're currently working on. But glad to have you here, Jan.
I'd
Where's
be here.
There you go. And where's Waldo?
Oh, if you say he's looking up, he'll sing if you're not careful.
Well, we might have to have him sing. And
Okay.
you'll talk more about Waldo in a little town. I know. As soon as
Okay.
I love Waldo. I remember when you first got him. Okay, so Anne, come on in here, Anne, and tell us about like your writing and where it was maybe a challenge and how you broke through that block and a little bit about your story. So come on in here.
Okay. So most of my writing to date has been in service of this PhD. and working toward this dissertation. And I love that, and I love the opportunity to get to know Jan and more of Jan's story. And I appreciate that you spoke about her losing her voice, because the first real conscious, I guess, issue, for lack of a better word, or this kind of welling up in me, was during the course of the PhD in one of my classes. And we had a specific project that we had to write a paper for. And during the course of that project, the focus was education and socioeconomic status and the challenges there. And so it caused me to reflect about the times of trying to, nurture my oldest son through his education. And then eventually, me losing him at 2 months before his 21st birthday. During this class, I had the realization that I could not remember what his voice sounded like. And that just crushed me. And so my project for that specific class was about honoring his voice and finding my own. And so what I produced for that class was kind of in honor of him. Fast forward many years, and last year, and I come to you and I'm at a point where I am stuck. I'm physically feel stuck. I'm emotionally, you just in always stuck, and trying to complete this dissertation, and I'm ready to give it up because I had lost Brian, my dearest love, toward the end of this. I'd lost a friend and mentor to COVID. My research had been sidelined because of the chaos in Haiti. And I was just tired and stuck, ready to give it up. And I actually did. I went to bed the night before. I'm going to email my chairperson. I'm done. I'm tired. And I went to bed. And for the first night since Brian had passed, I slept. It was hard sleep, a long sleep, probably the best sleep I'd had in 2 years. And I woke up, and the first thought in my mind was, I could do this. Had an idea for a direction for my dissertation. Then I had another idea, and I was like, So I grabbed some paper and just started writing. Just let it all kind of, I did a word vomit, what a friend of mine said, I word vomited on paper. Before I knew it, I had 3 full pages and had the framework for what would be my dissertation that I completely redid and rewrote and finished within less than 6 months. So that's the condensed version of my story, and where writing has brought me to this point.
Amen. And amen. And there were times where you just wanted to throw it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even up until the end, there were moments where I'm like, why am I doing this? But so thankful for your influence, Judy, because you helped kind of reorient me, and so, yeah.
There we go. And I love the fact that, and we're going to bring Jan on, that we have 2 educators here, and we, and Jan's retired from the elementary school level, And you get in front, of university students every day, every day, every day. Yeah. And
Yeah.
encourage them too.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
use writing in the class. In fact, I'll meet with a class in about an hour and a half. And we use writing, self-reflective writing in that class.
Great.
Very
Thank-
beneficial. Yeah.
Well, come on in here, Jan. Grand Jan.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we certainly can. Tell us a little bit about your story. And I just remember when you first, left the classroom and came out.
Well, when I first started teaching music, uh, I I'd had some vocal problems in college, and I lost my singing voice, and was told that if I whispered, I would lose my speaking voice permanently. So I had to relearn how to do everything. And I kind of gave things up, and then we moved to California for a while. And it's funny, with all that vocal rest and all that letting go, my voice came back unexpectedly. And I started writing music, contemporary Christian music. And then all these years later, I my poetry, I used to write poetry as a child. It was how I dealt with my feelings. It was where I could say things in poetry, and then if somebody saw it, I could not take responsibility for it. So now I take responsibility for it. And it has been, poetry has been a gift for me. And it truly is how I find out what I'm really thinking, is when I put pen to paper. And sometimes my thoughts say things without my permission. And then I decide whether I'm going to share that or not. And the thing I'm doing right now is every day I do publish a 17-syllable daily haiku that I send out to some people individually, and it's also on my Facebook. And the purpose of that is to put some positive vibration back into the universe. I don't figure anybody needs to hear from me every day and say, life is awful. I mean, you don't have to hear from me to hear that. So I I make it something that is sometimes humorous, sometimes poignant. And the amazing gift I've received is that people will often write back to me their stories, and then indirectly their stories become part of the poetry. And it's I would say that sending that out in the morning is part of my meditation practice. And I am an extrovert's extrovert. So the thought of meditating was quite scandalous to me, to actually be quiet and listen. But now I do, and I find a peace with that. And it seems that I am able to express a lot of times what other people are thinking and just haven't found the words for yet. So that's what I get to do. And when I was teaching, I got to rewrite musicals with my students and spent my days helping little kids find their inner elf. and hope that nobody noticed I was getting paid for being random. So there you go.
I love it. I love it. When you were talking, and I know both of you really well, it's like you said, like that meditation practice is that pen to paper. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is I can think it and it stays up here. It's like, oh man, and then all of that limiting stuff comes like, are you kidding me? And then when I ink it and actually think it, ink it, and then the third one is speak it out loud. And I must say, both of you, there's that courage to actually speak it. So I want to ask both of you a question, but before we do that, I want to just read one of your haikus that you just sent me this morning. Is that okay with everybody?
Sure. Oh,
I never understood, because there's 17 syllables. I'm like, how do you do that? And I think what it is, practice, daily practice. So here it is. Always keep a spare pair of wings in the back of your mind, just in case. Boing, right? I love it. All right. Well, I wanted to ask both of you a question, is like, where was it? When was it? What was going in your mind when you made that decision? Like Ann or Jan, when you had that decision that you were going to break through that paradigm and get to that other side and actually get that, what was it, that moment, like when you made the decision and nothing can stop you, that burning desire? So, Ann, you want to come in here first?
Sure. What it felt like at the moment was freeing. Was freeing, like a weight had been lifted. What it was an act of letting go. Because for me, even preparing for today, my normal course is I research, I have a plan, I have a backup plan, I'm prepared for all contingencies. And I realized at some point in the last, I would say 6 months, that strategy for me is about fear and control. Fear and control. And so letting go, I had to let go of my idea of what the future was going to look like for me. I had to let go of my idea of what my dissertation was supposed to look like, because I'd had all of this idea about it. So it was letting go of things. And so to prepare for today, I meditated. I wrote 2 sentences, and that was all I did. So, letting go control.
And it's like letting go of that struggle mode, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so many people, what we do, so many of my clients, we know it's like the push energy, struggle, and letting go of the struggle, and then the flow comes in. Because I know you're working on another project too. We'll hear about. Yes, you've got okay, dissertation, check that off, and now you're in a whole nother level of writing. So let's have Jan answer that question. And you know what? I just have to tell you about Waldo. And maybe you can talk to us about Waldo. Is Waldo right there?
Yeah, he's right here. Waldo.
Okay. Now, one of the things I know about Jan is when we were working together, there was this, you lived by yourself. Well, up until Waldo came around, right? Yeah. And so Waldo was in everything, right? So go ahead and take it from there, and how Waldo's become a big part of your writing process. Let me see Waldo. Can we see Waldo?
Let me see if I can get him up here. Come here, Waldo. Can you see him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I have to do it. Waldo can say, I love you. I love you. I love you. We will spare you, but together we do a pretty mean happy birthday duet. So Waldo has, his full name is Waldo T. Dog, and the T stands for the Waldo the dog, to not be confused with Waldo the cartoon character. And I would say the last 2 years, he has gotten me through the pandemic and the isolation, because he gets into everything. And he can even jump in the middle of the kitchen table flat-footed and steal a writing pen and run away with it. And but what he has brought me is a sense of being okay with whatever happens. He makes me laugh. He makes other people laugh. When he eats my shoes, that's not quite so funny. But there was a time during the pandemic when we had a huge ice storm here in Texas, and it was kind of scary. And at one point at 3 a.m, I opened my front door, and both of us just barked at the ice. I figured none of my neighbors would see me at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I felt so much better. I felt safer. And I had an idea that I might use him as a therapy dog to listen to children reading, but he's a little too pesky for that. But one of my moments came when I submitted my first poem to a magazine, and the editor wrote back and said, well, we might publish this, but we can't use your name the way you write it, because I was writing my name all squished together so you couldn't read what it was. And I just thought I was being very clever. And what the editor told me was, nobody's going to know what this says. We have no idea how to alphabetize it. And that's when I realized that it was time to take what I was doing as seriously, as a gift. And that I had to let go of it, and I had to risk standing up in public. Now, I'd always been a performer, and I had no problem with that. But when it comes to writing, it's a way of sharing a lot of soul work, and that's why sometimes the things I write, I never will share with anybody, because they're not meant to be shared. But it helps me stay centered. I have an ongoing conversation with my muse. And if I go to a workshop and I decide I want to write something really wonderful, and then I can't, the muse says, okay, either you show up or I'm leaving. So I don't get to pretend. And I gave up. Someone said, who are you writing for? And I realized that I had to write for me. I had to express my ideas, what I was thinking. And if somebody liked it, that was great. And if they didn't, that's really none of my business. I just needed to let it go. And it became very clear to me that with people's responses, that it was an interactive gift. And which is what happens when people write me back about their lives. And it's something I do. Sometimes it hits me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes now I sometimes talk in haiku, which is awkward. But it has brought me so much joy and so much connection with other writers who are doing the same thing, putting good vibrations into the universe. And that's the whole purpose of it.
Oh,
That's the whole purpose.
Amen. Well, so what I want to wrap up here is like, Ann, tell us what you're currently, like, your mind, your next vision of yourself, and and also, like, what would you say to people who do about the importance maybe of writing, if that is their gift or not, but what tool could you give people who are just beginning to maybe pick up a pen? I know my little granddaughter Anna draws, and that's her form of writing right now.
Mhm.
And some of the things she draws are amazing, some aren't. But tell us the importance of getting things down on paper, and also what you're up to right now. What's your next phase of yours?
Okay, well, first I'll talk about what I think is important in the process. And I want to go back to the 2 sentences I wrote down, thinking about today and thinking about the last week, really. Because Judy, you had to start a gratitude practice morning and evening. And so I've been doing that. And it's caused me to recall other gratitude practices and other ways that gratitude has changed my life. I think gratitude is key. And that the act of writing, it focuses you. That's why that pen to paper is so important. It focuses your thoughts and attention. It's a contemplative practice. And I've been really big in the last this semester thinking of teaching as contemplative. So, and looking at it that way. And so it's the act of contemplation. That's the important piece. So we're all creative in some way. We can all write. That may not be our strongest suit, but to find a contemplative practice that you're comfortable with. And I would encourage, even if you don't feel like you can write, to try it anyways, and to begin with writing down a gratitude practice. Doing that and knowing that each of my gratitudes needs to be unique causes me to focus and not repeat. I'm not in a, oh, well, okay, I'm going to be grateful for the same 5 things over and over and over again. I'm focusing and writing. So I would start with a writing gratitude practice, especially if you feel like writing is not your strong suit. So what I'm working on now is it's so cool, Jan, that you do in your haiku is beautiful. That's my writing project that I have in the works right now, is a 30-day journal focusing on haiku, using that as kind of a springboard for meditation, and using it to write or create, whether it's a draw or encouraging a creative practice. And so that's what I'm working on right now.
I love it. And that was just birthed last week.
Yeah.
Keeping the vision going and vision going. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, come on in, Jan, and tell us more about what you would encourage people to do. And what I would love it if you would read that Thanksgiving poem that you had, if you have that.
Yeah, do you want me to do that first?
Well, go ahead and tell us what you would do to encourage.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I've been experiencing so much in the last couple of months is, as I've gotten braver and shared more of the poetry with people, people have sent me notes. Oh, hey, I used to write poetry, but I'm not very good. Or I wish I could write poetry. And I believe that every single person sitting here today, every single person has a secret poet within them. You may not have met them yet, but they're just waiting. They've got the words just waiting, because I believe we are all given words that we are just given ourselves, that we're meant to speak out loud. And I am currently working on a collection of the morning poems, because people have been asking me for that. And with a couple of comments, I'm tired of trying to search through your Facebook and find the one I wanted to remember. So That is my goal. And my best friend says that in order to do that, you actually have to write, not just talk about it. So that is my goal, is to actually write it. And I also have a couple of children's books I'm working on, and a couple of vignettes about my childhood to introduce my grandchildren to a non-digital world. I grew up in a small town with a party line. It's very different from their life. And I want to save that for them. They may or may not be interested now, but I'm working on that. So,
I love the fact that you bring about the legacy. And so if you could you read us that Thanksgiving poem that you just put out? And
yes.
then we're going to wrap it up and oh, there it is right in front of us.
Sorry, there we go.
That's okay.
Okay, got it. All right.
So let's everybody take a deep breath in and just hear some beautiful words. Go ahead, June.
'Tis the season. 'Tis the season for remembering events as we wish they had been. For the gathering of goodwill intentions perfectly folded. For an unspoken truce of sunlit grace, sprinkled with scattered bits of humor, settling around our memories. Often this time is punctuated by adversarial views covered with giblet gravy and extra whipped cream. As family legends are retold, our blood bonds mysteriously strengthen despite uncomfortable pauses. Our deeply rooted traditions continue evolving, reimagined by younger generations. Candlelit shadows dance along the walls, honoring beloveds no longer present. We sit down together at the kitchen table, heavy with celebratory family favorites. Each dish we pass has its own name. Aunt Virginia's chestnut dressing, Granny's cranberry apple pie, Uncle Tim's very marshmallowy yams, and of course, Mom's feather light homemade biscuits. In late afternoon, we say goodbye with whispered promises to stay in touch. We hug each other tightly and inhale these precious moments of belonging. The complex tapestry of family has been rewoven and is nestled safely away for another year.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you both for being here on Transformation Tuesday. We so appreciate your gifts, and we want to put a blessing on both of you. So get ready to receive. We're going to, blessing Texas and Tennessee and the energy. And we totally see both of you shifting and uplifting the entire planet by having the courage to get and put your gifts out there. So that's what Transformation Tuesday is all about. Thank you so much for being here. And we so appreciate you. So appreciate you. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks for inviting us.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you.
Amen.
Bye, everybody.